Are we rolling?
Home for the night.
Well, that was beautiful. I don't know how much of that came through, but the voice you just heard was part Roan and part Uncle Chaps.
I do that before every 0 Block 30, by the way.
Do what? Sing
Little bit of
Sia?
Sia. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, everyone.
That makes sense. That
15 minutes of Sia to start the show, and then we get into the military topics.
I know that because I listen.
Yeah.
I know that because I'm a big listener.
So, yes, Uncle Chaps, 0 Block 30, Podfathers, blogger extraordinaire,
Chaps and Kate.
Chaps and Kate, Sirius XM, satellite radio. How are you? Welcome.
I'm doing great. Guys, it's fantastic to be here.
Dude, it's
I'm
so
excited
good to
to
have
chop
you.
it up. Sports.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure, we got that, man. We got sports for you, but let's just what's going on with you, man? What's good in your life? You have no beard now.
No beard.
You're in town. We're just having you in New York.
Yeah, it's lovely to be here. I came up Saturday, and now I'm going home tomorrow. So it's been nice.
That is nice. Those
Yeah.
are the
Those are the
logistics.
ones. Yeah.
Let's talk Chaps. I think you have one of the more interesting, because I think people, they see you now, well, before the beard thing, but they see you now, and it's like Podfather, military podcast, and you're a very serious, upstanding citizen of the world, but your background is more of a funny, like, comedic, like, kind of one of the more random ins to Barstool, just because I remember the back end when Dave, like, didn't know who you were. He was like, it's just a funny, like, entrance into this world.
Yeah, Hank was just telling me a little bit before the show that Dave thought you worked at NFL Network or something before you got hired.
Yeah, so when I first had a Twitter account, I did a lot of like sports satire stuff. Like that was my thing. And then when I got to Barstool, it was right after PMT was announced. And I thought, well, that's kind of foolish for me to continue to do that when two of the best in the world are going to do it together. And then I'm just hanging out in Texas by myself. So I had to switch up gears a little bit.
When you were doing sports satire, like how much of when you're doing that early on is that just like being a troll?
Oh, it was 100% being a troll. Yeah. It was like you had to know. But in order to do that, I think in order to be a successful sports troll, you have to know sports. Like you can't just go out there and just say something satirically, and you have to know the right answer.
You have to be the thing you're parodying.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I had a good time with doing that.
What was it? Why did you start getting into trolling?
I was bored in school, so I got out of the Marines and went to UTSA.
Tale's oldest time.
Yeah.
Is that how it starts, Hank?
Yeah.
So I was just sitting there in this biology class, and I was like, this fucking sucks, man. So I started a Twitter account while I was in the class. I was like, I'm just going to tweet about sports. I thought if I got 100 followers, it would be successful, like because people would talk back and forth. When I first started to do jokes like on Twitter, and people would start responding to my jokes with just like a ha-ha, I'd be like, oh, shit.
Fucking crushing it.
Wow.
A raucous audience. You remember any first early tweets or jokes that you sent out?
Well, I remember some of my failures that I thought I was going to do sports accounts for sure. I changed my original name was Chaps McNeely, and then I changed it to sports grade tweeter. Like, so if you were tweeting about sports, I would grade your tweet.
Ooh.
And so it never really got any legs there. But I would be like, oh, you're tweeting about Blaine Gabbert being bad. You got a C-.
Just an average basic take.
Yeah, it didn't go very well.
What was like? You just gave elite grades for elite tweets.
Yeah.
Cool.
You should get that. That's a good one. That might be one to bring back from the graveyard. What was the first impersonation that you pulled over on the world?
Probably it's just a small town Jacksonville Jaguar beat writer named Gene Fournette. I think I changed my avatar and name to him and said that I had diarrhea and I wouldn't be making it to the game to follow a different Twitter account. And so like Jags Twitter was like, oh my God, Gene has diarrhea. He's not going to be there. And whenever that happened, I looked back. I actually went and found that tweet. I thought it had an enormous amount of interaction, and looking back, it was like 14 retweets.
But at the time,
I'm like, I am fucking crushing it. This is unbelievable.
That's so fucking funny. What had you seen anybody else do that, or what? Like, what gave you the idea to like, to troll in that way?
There was a couple guys. Do you remember the original Adorn Schefter?
Of course.
He was a Jags Twitter dude. And his name is Andy Willis, and he actually he got into the biz too. He works for a news station down in Tampa now. And there's another dude named Jay Nubbs, and they would do it too. And so I saw them do it. I was like, I could do this, but let me try to take it to the next level.
It introduced diarrhea.
Yeah.
I'm sure those guys weren't playing with diarrhea.
Yeah, they weren't.
They're trying to break
they weren't about
scoops.
that
We're
life.
alter lives.
Right.
Right. That's the obsession with diarrhea, the early obsession with chaps and
My
diarrhea.
whole life, yeah.
And so were you just in school this entire time? When did you figure out that you could make that into like a job?
When Dave called me. So
do you know what got you on his radar? Like what was the first call like?
Yeah, so I do know now. Well, let me back up. There was another job offer that I got right when I was done with school. I just finished school, and I was thinking, I don't know what I'm going to do, man. Like, at the time, I had been a stay-at-home father for 3 years, and there wasn't a whole lot going on. Like,
what would you have done?
I have no idea. Still, like, don't know. Like, I was getting to the point where, like, I'm done. I also have my arrest shit, so I had, like, a felony on my
right
record. So, like, going to find a job at a normal spot was difficult. Like, trying to just find in the spot in Texas that you have to click that little box whenever you're doing a resume. I was like, I just am probably going to be a stay-at-home dad and just fuck around on Twitter. But luckily, I had like retirement from the Marine Corps and a VA check, so I would have been okay financially either way. But I had got a job offer from this little fly-by-night fantasy football.
Ooh, competitors.
Yeah, it was a fantasy football thing that was just getting started, and they wanted to have like Chaps Corner at night and me to host a show at the end of the sports night. So it would be like 11:30 at night to 12:30 in the morning, an hour to cover what was going on in the sports world that
radio?
night. No, it was like going to be like a video simulcast thing.
Oh, cool.
Like through their
stream,
website.
Like an early stream game type of thing that we're doing now.
It was supposed to be 6 nights a week that I was going to do that, and they were going to give me $100 an episode. So from having no job in there, I was like, dude, I'm going to be fucking crushing it, man. Like, it might be 4 or 5 nights a week. We're going to work that out. And I signed a 1-month contract. And me and my wife were so happy that I was going to have this job. I took her out to a nice sushi dinner.
No way.
We went to a nice little sushi spot.
Of course.
Then the next day,
made some smiley face emojis.
Yeah, a little smiley face emoji. I was feeling good about myself. Then I came home. They said it's going to take us about a week to get all the paperwork in order and to send you all the different green screen stuff that you'll need. And I was like, cool, I don't know how to use any of that, but I'll figure it out on the fly. I took a nap one afternoon, and I was going to get
Always a good decision.
Yeah, and my daughter was taking a nap. I was taking a nap. I woke up, and my phone had like a bunch of text on it. And it was like, hey, Dave Portnoy from Barstool Sports is talking about you on, I think it was like the radio, not a radio, a podcast or something like that. Somehow it came out that he was talking about me. And Big Cat didn't even know it was me at first because Dave had called me Pork Chop. He's like, there's this dude that works for NFL.com named Pork Chop. And
why did he think that?
I guess Chaps Chop. I guess like he was like, it's a dude named Pork Chop. And Big Cat was like, who? And then he said he just did a podcast. He started a podcast. I started this podcast in my master bedroom closet talking into a shoebox with some of the foam from a bed cut out. And I would talk in to make the sound better with just like a lapel mic in there.
That's like an underground rapper trick.
Yeah, dude. I was just sitting there and I would talk for like 30 minutes with no plan whatsoever, just tell some stories. Well, somehow it was right after PFT had gotten hired. Some random person on Twitter, I still don't know who it is, I don't remember who it is, said, you knocked the PFT commenter hire out of the park, you should check out this dude Chaps. And so he did. He was like at the airport, listened to a couple episodes. He's like, cool. He gave me a call. He said, would you be interested in working for Barstool? And I was trying to play it cool. I was like, well, it depends on compensation and things like that.
Smart.
I'm thinking if he offers me $500 a month to write some articles and do a podcast, I'd be over the moon.
Right.
Like, I was like, this is my shot. Next thing I know,
did you know like Dave and Barstool? Obviously, like I know you know PFT and stuff. But, like you.
Yeah, I followed Barstool really closely when I was in the Marine Corps. Like I had kind of gotten away from it a little bit just because I was going back to school and doing other things. But I read it pretty religiously whenever I was there.
Who was working at Barstool at that time?
It was just Dave. KFC had been hired. Feidelberg. Big Cat wasn't even there. Like Big Cat, whenever Big Cat had left, I knew who he was because of his Twitter account. He had a large following on Twitter even then. So I knew who he was, but I wasn't like, I didn't read his stuff at Barstool or anything. So when Dave called me and he offered me the full-time job at like my starting salary, what I ended up starting at, like I got off the phone and was so happy. I legit cried like in my living room. I was like, I called my wife and I was like, babe, they didn't just offer me like a 1-month thing. Like, cause I thought it was going to be like a 1-month trial. She's like, what'd he give you? Or what did he offer? And I was like, he offered me a 2-year contract. And she was like, from the jump? And I was like, yeah. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. He asked me if I knew how to do WordPress. I said, yes, I don't. I don't know shit about this. So I try to play it cool, too, because he's like, well, we'll start you out here.
Was your
like,
wife pretty fired up, too? She must have been pretty excited for you, too, if
Oh,
you got
yeah,
the sushi
man.
dinner
Like,
for the $500 a month.
Yeah, she was so pumped. She's like, this is going to be great. You're going to do so awesome, babe.
Fire.
Finally your chance to shine. And so I tell him I don't need medical insurance, so can you bump my salary up? He's like, sure, I'll throw another $10,000 on your salary. And I was like, yes, I know how to negotiate. And I don't know.
I'm a shark.
At this point,
was there any mention of the Marines or your background?
No,
in any of this?
No, nothing. So
wait, he just thought you were a sports writer.
So then and Erica had just been announced as CEO whenever this happened. So he reaches out to me. He said, all right, we're going to start you on August 1st is going to be your start date. And I was like, well, just for me personally, it'd be cool if I could start on July 31st because that's my live day. And he said, well, what's that? I was like, well, I was in the Marine Corps for 10 years and got shot on that day. So I would like to have like a special announcement on that day too. He's like, whoa, you're a Marine? He's like, this is fantastic. He's like, and you got
10K more.
He's like, you got shot?
How many times?
This is unbelievable. He's like, this is great. He's like, yeah, we got to start you on the 31st. I'm going to hook you up with Keith. And then it's the most excited that I think that I've ever seen Dave.
That you got shot?
Yeah, he was like,
whoa.
He's like,
did I do it again or did I do it again?
Yeah.
Right,
He's like, this is going to be a beautiful friendship. We hadn't done anything. He hadn't done a single heard me do a podcast really, like skilled one anyway.
Other than just shoeboxing.
Write a blog. Oh, he did have me write like 4 blogs and I didn't know how to do WordPress, so I just wrote them to him in an email. I could probably find him. I'll
From my memory, so this was also very funny, Dave, on the other end of it too, because me and Big Cat were in New York. I think it might have been when Erica was getting announced. Like it might have all happened that same weekend. But he called Big Cat, like we were taking a cab. It was like a 45-minute cab ride, and he called Big Cat. It was like, oh, we just hired. Oh my God, hit that light. Lights just turned off. It got spooky in here. He's like, we just hired this guy from NFL Network, like the guy with red hair, like Pork Chop or something. And that was like the same shit. And we took the entire ride. We're like going through NFL Network, the NFL roster, like knowing Dave, like sometimes mixes stuff up, like. We're like, who the fuck? Like, who did we hire? Like, what is going on?
Who would be named Pork Chop?
Yeah, NFL Network, like red hair, like what?
See, like a former player, I could see like an old D tackle being called Pork Chop or some shit like that. But like, who the fuck would be? So I feel like through all this, Dave thought you worked at and like.
But then someone showed me, he's like, oh, it's Chaps, and Big was like, oh, like yeah, Chaps. I know who that is. Obviously, like you just didn't say that correctly. And then Dave was like, I think he went on the rundown and he was like, yeah, he's our UFC guy. Yeah, like, he's gonna be our UFC guy.
And I hadn't watched UFC in a long time.
Why did he think that?
I guess because I was a Marine. Like, and so then we were sitting there. We were sitting on one of the first rundowns that we were doing, and he was like asking me to break down the fight, and I was like, oh, maybe I'm supposed to know everything about every sport.
Yeah.
And so I'm giving like predictions. Well, it was like my second or third week working there, and Dave calls me one Sunday afternoon. He's like, dude, I know you just started, but what the fuck? And I was like, whoa, what do you mean? And he's like, why didn't you blog the UFC fight? I was like, I didn't know that was my responsibility. And he's like, well, we thought you said you're a UFC guy. I was like, I didn't know that was a UFC guy. I had no idea.
So you just explained it away? Like, I don't actually.
No, I went home and wrote the UFC blog. And I did write UFC blogs until Robbie came on board.
What the fuck? And you just don't know shit about
No, I do know about it. Like, I've fought jiu-jitsu and done all that stuff, but I didn't, that wasn't something that I wanted to
like,
do.
hey, yeah, like I'm going to be.
I didn't think that would ever be in my scope here.
When did he find out that you didn't work for the NFL Network, though? Like, was he ever pissed out?
I don't think he found out till like I had been here for like a year and a half. I actually think he found out like on radio, and he was like, "Chaps, don't you know about you? Like whenever you worked at NFL.com, you made like an offhanded comment." I was like, "Oh, dude, that wasn't true." Because in my bio, it was in my bio. It said Chaps, NFL.com, CNN, Blogspot were like my headlines of where they've been at.
3 lies.
Yeah.
Although you were on NFL Network.
Yeah, kind of like just for trolling like Rappaport and Schefter and shit like that.
So technically
bylines at NFL.com should stick.
That's pretty great. Badass.
Yeah.
Did you wind up ever giving any fantasy football advice on that?
No. So I called the dude, and I only had the 1-month contract, and I told Dave, I was like, hey, I could start probably in a month. I have this, And he was like, well, give me the guy's number. I'll call him. I'll see if I can buy you out of that contract. And I was like, man, they must fucking think I'm awesome. Like, this is incredible.
NFL Network.
So
guy.
I called the dude and I was like, hey, I can't do it. And he's like, why? I was like, I just got hired full time at Barstool Sports. He's like, well, go do your thing, man. Congratulations.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Do you remember? Well, that was like 2016.
Yeah, 2016.
Do you remember any advice that you were going to give? Were you like studying up on fantasy at the time, or was it just
No,
like an in
because
you
like
liked
I said, I
football?
did work for one of the SB Nation sites, and not work, like I did it for free, where I would write about sports. Like so I was very in tune to what was going on, so I felt like it was something that I could do easily. My time at Barstool is the least I've ever been involved in sports by far. I would probably watch less sports now than ever in my life.
How's that possible?
Because I don't write it. Like you have all these. I think that because I do like the podcast and radio and things like that, you know, like if you try to hop on the blog in the middle of the day and write a story about something going on in football, now there's somebody who covers that beat that if it's a big enough story, they're automatically going to write it. Where when I first started, you had a little bit of time, and all of my time, CBT was once a week. I didn't have a radio show. Podfathers wasn't a thing yet, so I could just be ready to blog.
And you're paying attention to it. You know what has been blogged. You know
It's
what's
a mindset thing too, where it's like if you wake up and that's the one thing you're gonna do, it's much
you have
easier to like see the end game. Where it's like, all right, I'm gonna write this blog, so I have to write another blog, so I have to write another blog. Whereas if you're like trying to write one in the middle of doing other shit, it's like eventually you're just like, oh, I'll finish this later. Like I'll do it later. Like,
and most likely somebody else has already covered it.
yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Do you like prefer blogging or doing the content just from a personal perspective?
Personal enjoyment, I don't think that there's anything like when you write a super funny blog and you push it out and you see the reaction from a very funny written piece. Like I've done podcasts where I was like, oh, that was pretty funny or whatever. But like the special moments for my career so far have definitely been like big blogs.
And your humor, like one thing I've grown to appreciate about you as over the years is like you have like it's basically like a constant like inside jokes, and it's like the more you understand, the funnier some of the blogs are. When it's like
the more you read it, the more like you get.
The best thing I ever did for my blogs was starting the audio blogs, where I would read it in like the voice that I would write it in. So people would always say like, now I hear your voice whenever I'm reading it. Like,
that is smart.
Incredible.
But do you ever feel like you should apologize to Hank for that pumpkin blog because now he's not on TV anymore?
Whoa.
Oh yeah.
Oh. Yeah.
The straw that broke the camel's back.
I was so nervous that you guys were going to be mad at me.
Were you?
Yeah.
I forgot.
I was like, these are my
part.
best pals in the company. I don't want this to be between us.
Right, but that was like.
But I
if
will
you
not
understood,
recant.
No, yeah. I am steadfast in that is
Yeah.
a fuckable pumpkin.
It's like my 95 thesis just with a pumpkin. I'm nailing it to the
church
door.
door.
Well, yeah. So for those who don't know, and you might have to fill in some of these details. I believe it was like right when the show got announced the same day, or it was a couple days after. But part of my take just got a show announced for ESPN2, and I think on that same day, there was some people mad, and then there was a blog from Chaps.
It was within 3 days of each other. Either 3 days before or 3 days after. And Adam C. Best wrote like this hit piece about, I think it was about the pumpkin blog, was a lot of it too. Like that.
Well, what was the pumpkin blog?
So there was this pumpkin that very clearly had an asshole. Like, like it just looked straight up like a butthole.
Right, it had grown an asshole.
And so I wrote a blog that was entitled, "Is This Pumpkin Trying to Get the Pipe?" And I wrote this long blog about how I showed up at a Halloween party with my girlfriend who was dressed as a slutty Dora the Explorer. And just went on and on and on, and eventually she was giving me shit, and at the end of the night I'm kind of toasty. I look over and this pumpkin is staring at me, and I'm like, my hello.
A couple pumpkin beers in,
The
and
lady.
who wouldn't? Hello, I see you gazing at
pure
me.
pumpkin erotica.
Yeah, and it's just silly, stupid shit, and then some people on the internet were upset about it.
Yeah, and basically saying that you like had objectified a pumpkin, which is like
Yeah,
it is actually an object.
that's a gourd.
You cannot
not a girl, my guy.
So
That's a
to the
gourd.
point where people were then making the connection, and this was a lot of people. Like this turned into, it was one of those things where it was just so funny because it was like, this is not what all these people are upset about.
it was
It's
so
not this pumpkin.
ridiculous.
But there was thousands of people being like, I can't believe a show is going on ESPN that also has a blog about fucking pumpkins. Like, this is despicable. Like, this is disgusting. How could ESPN do this? Like, sending it to every, like, an ESPN reporter would tweet, and it would just be the top reply would be like, did you see this pumpkin blog? Like, disgusting.
And I think the happiest Dave ever was with me was when I issued a statement the next day. I recanted.
You did recant.
I did recant, yeah. But it was basically, I apologize to absolutely fucking nobody.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's so fucking funny.
I
What a
completely
great piece
forgot
of the
about
saga.
that. Yeah.
But I mean, that's also just the type of thing that, like, if it wasn't that, it would be something else.
Well, it would have been some other. It honestly made the whole thing funny because it was basically some blog that was just a tweet from Barstool. Some blog that got tweeted that day was going to be the subject of that type of outrage, and it's just it was so funny that it was about.
And Stoolies were loving it because I'm like the least of like the
Problematic
bloggers. Like, it was so unbelievably stupid.
Right. You like your blogs are like silly, lighthearted, or they're about like being a war hero who got shot. You know what I mean? Like, it's like those are two things that are pretty hard to get mad at. But people found a way when you bring that pumpkin pussy in.
Yeah, that sweet
spitting seeds.
sweet pumpkin guts.
So we got to get into the fantasy talk. How do you feel about your co-host Kate is looking like she's going to come in last place? Have you gone over that with her? I thought, to be honest, that you might be helping Fran and Kate because in the beginning of the season you weren't involved in any team. So it was like, oh.
Well, I asked if they wanted to because I wanted to be involved, and I know like it's harder for me because I'm away to be like in the mix with that kind of stuff. So I told Kate, I was like, if you and Fran want me to be on your team, like, I'll do it. And they're like, oh no, it's just gonna be us girls. We're just gonna do it. And so then Nate dropped out, and so I texted Hubs, and I was like, let me get that spot, and Hubs brought me on.
Baseball boys. How is your team synergy? What's the managerial structure like? How do you balance power?
Well, I think because I don't talk about sports, that Hubs had assumed that I don't know shit about anything.
How dare he?
We had that assumption because I was like, for instance, a couple weeks ago, I don't want to throw all Hubs underneath the bus, but we had
we are the bus.
There was, I think the Jags were playing. I don't remember who it was. I picked up a defense that was going up against the Jets, and he was like, I don't want to play that. I don't want to do that. No, it was the Jags-Jets game, and we had 9 sacks, I believe, and there was 4 turnovers that we had, so we generated 20 points before the game. And I picked up Josh Lambo, who hasn't missed a kick in over a year. So I picked up those 2 players, and I think he thought because they were Jags, I was just being a homer. But I looked at the matchup, like where the Jags have been struggling in the red zone. I know that they can buckle down. The Jags can buckle down whenever you're in the red zone. That's going to lead to a lot of field goals. Josh Lambo ended up kicking 4 field goals that day. The Jags defense had 18 points. He put in somebody else. I think I forget who it was, but only 2 points. And then the kicker only had 4 points.
You couldn't have been any more correct.
Right, and we ended up losing by 15, and we would have won just with the defense.
Oh, so you did end up doing it.
Yeah.
Oh.
And he sat Jimmy Graham because I was starting Hawkinson and Graham the same week because they were going against the Raiders, and the Raiders
What do you mean you were starting? So you set the lineup, and he
lineup.
Went in and changed it?
I set the lineup, went to church, and when I came out, I was checking – like when the games had started, and I went to go see how because I saw
while you were at church.
Yeah,
oh my
so
god!
I saw,
while you were at church.
Yes. So I saw Graham score a touchdown on the little alert, and I was like, nice. So I go in to see how many points he got, like how many yards it was off, and then next thing I know, he had started fucking. Who's the third wide receiver from New England that played for
Josh
Dorsett?
Gordon? Oh, Dorsett.
So he had started Dorsett over him, and I was like, what are you doing?
Oh my god!
Did he even text you to let you know? What the fuck?
He went totally rogue.
That sucks, man. As a team guy, as a guy who's been in a lot of teams,
and he sat Rodgers. I had started Rodgers because they were going up against Oakland. I know it was going to be a high score. So he
just went into the team that you set and just completely tore the whole thing up and didn't even have the courtesy to tell you.
Right, and that was the week that Rodgers had 42 points.
Oh.
I mean, that's bad.
Yeah, we lost.
That's bad.
What is like the Monday morning meeting room look like?
I just basically text him.
Really?
Yeah, that's about because
I would have been more worked up than that.
50, 60
How
points
long
on
did
the
you?
bench.
How long did you wait to text him?
I texted him right away. Like right when I saw it, I was like, "Why did you do that?" And he was like, well, I just got nervous. And then I went through the reasons why I'd started all these players. Like Oakland is shitty against covering the tight end. We have like what I just said basically. And he was like, I'm sorry, man. I kind of panicked.
Oh my God! No shit, he panicked, dude. You're handling this well, and that's a testament to your maturity. I would be fucking livid. I would have put him on blast way before this.
Well, I think we'd be in either second or third place. That doesn't happen.
So does that shift the balance of power all to you now? I mean, I feel like what would happen in I guess you guys are the same rank. But like you can't do that to
if
someone.
he tried to do it again, there'd be a
least.
coup, and it'd be the baseball boy.
And you just kick his ass off the team?
You got to go.
Commish, what are the rules for that? Can you just kick someone off the team, Connor?
That's their team. They can do whatever.
Right, I feel like that's just an internal struggle. You guys can just sort it out. And have you guys...
It soured our relationship. I don't even text him back when he texts me now.
I can't blame you.
A once strong relationship.
Yeah.
One of the strongest in the office.
Yeah.
People
best friends.
I mean, if you used to think Hubs, you would think Chaps.
Yeah.
That's why you guys were on the team
Right.
together.
The baseball boys.
I mean, it was the fact that he did it while you were just praising the Lord, just trying to get right and get your karma up.
I can't tell you how many tweets I got.
Did you think about your team while you're in church? Like, I feel good about this team.
It really affected,
God,
I think,
just
my
letting you know.
relationship with the Lord, too.
Chaps,
Oh,
do you think
no.
do you think Hubs resents you because of the Astros' success and the Yankees' failures in this postseason?
Whoa.
It could be some of that he's like, I know baseball, the Astros shouldn't have went on, but to me it was never about that. It was about being a team.
Yeah, that's flat out disrespect.
I can't tell you how many texts and tweets I've got that were calling Hubs a coward for doing it and not letting me know, but that's not something that I would even comment on.
Wow. My respect for you just swells.
Yeah.
Were you part of the draft process?
I was a little bit, but I think he took advantage there, too. He took a little bit of advantage.
Indeed.
That's all I have to say to him. How long have you been in the game? How long have you been in the fantasy game?
Oh, probably 15 years.
We got vets in this office. We have nothing but vets. Do you remember any early names or anything like that?
I
Any
only
ships
really
you ever
did.
win a
I was on a
championship?
pretty serious league for like 10 years in the same one, and so that was the only one I really remembered. And I was just ginger beard.
How does it work following fantasy as a Marine?
What do you mean?
Is it harder because that?
Oh, like being away?
Yeah,
and
being
stuff?
away.
Well, the difficult part about being a fan, period. And I've talked about this a little bit. Like the Jags never play on TV in Japan. So you just don't get to watch them. So those years that I was in Okinawa are like dead zones to me as far as what I know about the team. People are like, oh, tell me about something that happened in 2008. I'm like, I don't know, dude.
I have
don't
no
know.
idea. No
like
one told
Maurice
me.
Jones-Drew's almost his entire career is a blur.
Fuck, man. That's
Yeah.
tough, man.
Yeah.
Shouts out to him, man. I feel like someday you should be able to talk with him about that and get that on the table between
Walk
the two
me
of you.
week by week through your career.
Just tell me, because I love you guys and I missed everything.
Yeah.
I missed everything from the jump.
And that soured my Braves fandom because they were never on TV either. Baseball just wasn't on TV. So you don't watch something for 4 years, you really kind of lose it.
Wait, whoa! You used to be a Braves fan?
Mm-hmm.
What the hell, Chaps?
What?
You abandoned ship?
Yes.
Oh no!
I mean, look where he's at now. Look where
Yeah.
you are.
I know. That's
Clearly
why
he made the right decision.
Yes.
Any championships in those 15 years?
Yeah. Yeah.
How many?
So I think 4. I don't want to be over, but I think 4. Either 4 or 5.
It's pretty fucking good, man.
Yeah.
You're in a good position to win this year. Your roster stock, like you said, you got Aaron Rodgers, Fournette's having a great year, Max having a great year.
Fournette needs to start scoring some touchdowns, though, because
He
he's
does.
having pretty consistent 19, 23-point weeks with no touchdowns.
Evans, Hopkins.
I would be
Anderson.
very concerned though with the internal stuff with this team. Seems like it's something that might just fall.
That's
going to
keep you from winning a championship.
Yeah.
That's going to be something that, unless you figure it out, that's going to keep you from winning a championship. You'll be able to point to that Sunday.
Yeah, that's probably going to happen. I knew whenever I was submitting my money that this is just like giving it to somebody else in the office.
Hubs, no less.
Yeah.
So we have a segment, Chaps, called the DFS Diaries. You told
Okay.
me before the show that you played fantasy, but you got more into the daily fantasy over the years. What do you still play it, or how long were you seriously into the game?
Seriously in the daily for about 5 or 6 years.
How long ago?
I kind of stopped whenever I started working here, which probably doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
That's what you were saying that earlier. I mean, the thing with you have like kids in like real life and like all that stuff, so it makes a little more sense. But like, I feel like when I'm just here and then we're talking about sports, then when I'm home, like, oh well, yeah, like we're talking about this anyway, might as well watch it.
Yeah, just jamming.
Yeah, I think it's because when I first started here, I felt like I had so much to prove because I was totally unproven in blogging or podcasting, anything like that. So I was writing blogs late at night, like getting them together. And then whenever I did have downtime, if I was going to spend that downtime, it wasn't going to be making my wife watch random Thursday night game. So if we're hanging out, then I hang out with her and like watch what she wants to do. And then I try to catch up like via Twitter. So if it wasn't for Twitter, I wouldn't have like zero idea what was going on in sports.
What is your guilty pleasure wifey show that you like?
Oh, I love Schitt's Creek.
Oh, I haven't seen it.
Oh, it's fantastic.
What's the premise?
Do you know Dan Levy?
I don't.
Okay, so he's the comedian with the huge bushy eyebrows. You would recognize him if you saw him. But they were multi-billionaires that ran Rose Video, where they like produced movies and things like that. They lost all their money and they had to go to a small little town that Johnny Rose had purchased whenever he was rich, and just like as a joke, he purchased this town. Inside the town is a little hotel. So in order to get over them losing billions of dollars, they go and start managing this little hotel. It's so fun.
I'm in.
I zoned out.
Beverly Hillbillies 2.0
but
type
it's like
vibes.
it's a show, like The Office or Park and Recs, where you can watch it over and over again. This is that kind of show.
Love it.
How many balls?
Ah, fuck. I'll give it 4.8 balls.
4.8?
Yeah, I think it's the funniest long-running sitcom since Parks and Recs.
I'll give it a shot, Chaps. If you said so.
Also, another great one is I'm Sorry. Have you ever seen that? Andrea Savage. That one's fantastic too.
Another network comedy?
I think it's FXX.
Dude, I love that.
movies.
I like their programming.
Yeah.
They have
That's
great
almost a
programming.
banger.
For sure. Dude, well, we appreciate you coming and banging with us. Thanks for indulging us, giving us your time, but also good luck with whatever's going to happen between you and your
Do you want Kate to lose? Is there a part of you as a co-host that secretly is like you would enjoy her having to suffer through 12 hours of radio?
Yes, because being her co-host on not only Chaps and Kate show but on ZBT, she is so prepared that if she had to do 12 hours, it wouldn't be like one of us three that went in there and we would just like bullshit our way through it and take calls and just like do dumb shit the entire time. She might actually prepare.
Plan the entire,
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, the entire
She
fucking
might
12
do it.
hours. Dude, you guys also had a bet that has never come true, never come to fruition.
Oh, yeah, I
Connor.
forgot.
We have multiple bets that's never come true.
Connor.
I've told everybody, please do your shit. Chaps, or did you say you're leaving tomorrow?
Yep.
Let's go do it tonight. Let's go get them.
The bet was that Kate, you and
That I
Hubs get to do Kate and Fran's makeup.
He has to do the Astros. The baseball boy has to watch baseball,
Yeah.
Connor.
Bars
my
are
favorite
open late.
team, the Houston Astros.
What's your prediction? Official prediction. Heard it here first.
I'm kind of nervous about this one. I think
Beloved Stros.
I think Washington's manager getting kicked out of the game after a home run that kind of sealed the deal in the game is bad news for the Astros. I think he's going to give an unbelievable speech. Greinke is well on the record of saying he doesn't like high-pressure situation. That's not exactly somebody that you want on the bump in Game 7 of the World Series.
That said, though, it would really shove it in Big Tennessee's face that you left the Braves organization behind.
It'd be my second championship.
Yeah, that'd be
Yeah,
pretty
they
smart
just
of you.
won like 2 years ago.
That would be awesome. So I kind of have a feeling that's going to happen, Chaps. I wouldn't worry too much.
I am feeling pretty nervous because me and PFT have a bet in that next time I come up, which will be around Veterans Day, that if my Astros win, he has to get a full body waxing, and if his Nationals win, I have to get a full body waxing.
What does that entail? Your penis?
That sounds like one that's not going to come to.
Oh, it's gonna happen. Big
Yeah, because
time.
you'll do
We're
it
gonna
because
do
you're
it
a man of honor.
We're gonna do it on the
PFT
live stream. We're gonna live stream it.
You say that now.
How was the cheese?
Cheese was terrible.
Your arms?
Your arms, legs,
No.
and bikini line.
You would not. No.
And he said
Why?
he said not asshole, but I think you got to do at least one strip of the asshole.
I mean, if you're going all the way,
Yeah.
having a super hairy asshole would look really weird if
You
you're
just
just
look like a
bald
fool.
everywhere.
Yeah.
You'd be a dunce with a big ass hairy
An
asshole.
absolute fool.
Unbelievable. Well,
That sounds miserable.
appreciate you, Chaps, Daddy.